Hello and welcome to Way or No Way. How many of you remember Double Dragon? I don't mean that.
Yes, Double Dragon, one of the classic preeminent side-scrolling beat-em-ups that caused many a youngster, including myself, to spend dollars upon dollars and quarters at the arcade. Created by Technos Japan and distributed by Taito Corporation in 1987, the story focuses around two brothers named Billy and Jimmy Lee. They have to rescue Marion, the girl they're both sweet on, from a gang lord who's kidnapped her for owing him $20 in gas money, I don't know. Laying siege to his turf, you face down multitudes of bad dudes, no, not those bad dudes, while using your martial arts skills and whatever weapons happen to be handy. It's pretty straightforward, as is typical of any side-scroll beat-em-up. Advance to the other side of the level, brutalizing various foes, derp-de-derp. The popularity of the Double Dragon video games actually spawned a franchise including sequels, remakes, a cartoon, a movie, and the subject of today's episode.
That's right, there is a Double Dragon comic book. A 6-issue miniseries, in fact. And we're going to be taking the next couple of episodes to take a look at it. Starting with issues number 1 and number 2.
I don't have a lot of information on the development of this book. In fact, I'm not even sure why this exists. I only know that for the first 4 issues, Dwayne McDuffie was the writer on the project before leaving the book, and Tom Brevoort took over for the final 2 issues. Seriously, I looked it up on Wikipedia and Google, and that's all I could glean from them about the production of this comic. It just exists. I just hope I didn't find the comic's equivalent of Blood Wings, Pumpkinhead's Revenge.
Obvious Spoonie reference aside, it's time to enter the dragon.
We open our comic on a splash page of what looks like someone stabbing a 2x4 into the head of Jesus. Seriously, if you looked at this image without any captions or knowing what the next page holds, I doubt anyone would know what to make of it. Her name is Marion Steele.
No relation to Remington.
She is Oligopolis' best undercover police officer on the assignment of a lifetime. Oligopolis was a thriving metropolis. Now it withers under a shadow of corruption. Oligopolis' many evils flow from a single source, the crime lord known only as Nightfall. Against all odds, Officer Steele penetrated Nightfall's organization, amassing the evidence the city needs to end his reign. Then she tried to leave. We turn the page and find that Marion is trapped inside the Hourglass Death Trap from the Adam West Batman series. No, seriously, look at this. From there we're given the backstory of the series. Marion Steele grew up in Oligopolis. No one knows better than she it was once a very different place.
The economy under Mayor Cheeseburger flourished when he introduced his Here's Your Beef tax plan.
Faster than Twilight Falls, a crime lord that no one on the right side of the law has ever seen organized a bizarre alliance of criminals that blocked the light from Oligopolis. As demonstrated here, it's real nice of them to spell out their metaphor for us. But Nightfall's terrors are held at bay by a tiny twin flame, a pair of martial arts warriors known only as Double Dragon. We get more exposition as it's revealed that Marion met up with Billy and Jimmy Lee and figured out that they were the Double Dragon. Truly, she is the world's greatest detective. Over time, she became very close to them. If she hadn't been so involved in her undercover assignment, things might have become complicated.
I'll say, can you imagine having to build a triple-decker bunk bed?
It goes into the detail about how she would be a mole for the dragons, and she helps them foil Nightfall's operations. Still, her efforts added up to very little. Until today. Today, she found the ledger. Inside are the names of every city official accepting monetary favors from Nightfall.
Deputy Mayor Wimpy owes back payments for failure to pay on Tuesdays for hamburgers since 1980.
Marion tries to escape with the ledger, but a guy with super speed zips in to intercept her. Officer Steele! Okay, how does he know her name? If we're to assume she's been undercover all this time, she would have used another name. Did he recognize her face? Well, if that's the case, why isn't she wearing a disguise? Did they know this whole time she was undercover? If so, why didn't they just whack her right then and there?
Halt there, person whose name I have no idea of knowing.
Back off, Superluminal! I don't want to have to use this! Honey, you don't have time. If you have a gun and are facing a speedster, you don't give them a warning. You shoot them in the knees and run your ass off. But wait, there's more! A bunch of kids on a hover bike happen upon Marion being overpowered by Superluminal. They even call her out by name. Worst undercover agent ever!
Don't worry, Miss Steele. We'll be back with help as soon as we can.
And what is the criminal with super speed doing about this? Fuck all! That's right, he just lets him go. If I thought otherwise, child, you wouldn't leave here alive.
Of course I could just zip over there, snap all your necks, pin it on the cop, go home and watch Failure to Launch on DVD, but I don't really feel like it, so I'll just go home and watch the movie.
The kids find Billy and Jimmy's hideout and tell them about Marion's kidnapping. I am to assume they, too, know that Billy and Jimmy are the Double Dragon as well. It's a good thing they're so easy to find, and it's not like the bad guys couldn't just as easily discover their hideout and lay siege to it. The kids give the twins the 411 on Marion being kidnapped by Superluminal. You guys got away from Superluminal? No way! He's got super speed powers! He must have allowed them to escape to lure us back to him. Surely it is a trap. And so the brothers get ready to do their morphing sequence when their sensei stops them. No, not here. In the dragon's lair.
Dragon's Lair, the fantasy adventure where you become a valiant knight on a quest to rescue the fair princess from the clutches of an evil dragon.
To reach your end, you must always keep sight of your beginnings.
Also, you may want to save at this point in case you lose all your lives.
So the sensei takes the twins into another room to see a massive dragon statue. Look again, young dragons, and remember.
Do you remember the time when we fell in love? Do you remember the time when we first met?
The dragon then shoots beams of light into their heads and it speaks to them. The way of the dragon is the way of the spirit. The force within me is the force of life itself. Only a chosen few are ever blessed with knowledge of the dragon force. Perhaps one in a generation. Perhaps less. So aside from its inability to count, the dragon tells Billy and Jimmy that they are special since as twins they represent yin and yang, light and dark, yada and yada. It tells them that for their powers to work, they must remain in perfect harmony with each other.
Now, Jimmy, I know you find it annoying that your brother gave you a Dutch oven, but you have to remember to get along, or else no superpowers. And
Billy.
Dutch ovens are for annoying girlfriends, not brothers.
So they finally get to do their transformation sequence. It is destiny. Together you are Double Dragon!
Alright, let's check on Marion and see how she... Ooh. Probably should have picked up the pace there, guys.
Billy and Jimmy ride to the place where the kids saw Marion being taken. They're met with some low-level thugs and we get our first actual fight scene. The dragons make quick work of the mooks and race up the fire escape where they find a mini-boss named Lagardaman, who tells the brothers he has Marion trapped in the hourglass trap and gives them an hourglass which tells them how much time they have. The small hourglass is in sync with the large one. When it is out of time, so is she. He says they can either go after him or save the girl. And is it me or Lagardaman actively going neener in this panel? Real mature there. Jimmy and Billy head off to the forest level where they meet some henchmen on a bridge. After dispatching them, one of the goons throws some dynamite and blows the bridge, nearly killing everyone. While trying to climb up the bridge, they are attacked by another mini-boss called Exoskeleton. Exoskeleton rips apart the bridge, causing them to fall. The dragons save themselves by using their key eyes to punch handholds into the cliffside. Admittedly, this is pretty awesome, if impractical. They have a brief argument after reaching the top, to which Exoskeleton tosses a rock at them.
It was a big rock.
Jimmy blinds Exoskeleton with some sparkling lights while Billy destroys the boulder with his nunchaku. After Jimmy gives Exoskeleton a Chuck Norris, the boys start to bicker some more, this time about which one will marry Marion. Yep, this is a running gag. They're going to be fighting over Marion throughout the whole miniseries. Billy and Jimmy reach the castle level and split down two separate corridors, bickering all the way. They dodge through an obstacle course, all the while trying not to have twin boners over Marion. After they pass the corridor, they are waylaid by ninjas. Tired from all the jumping, fighting, and bickering, they get their asses kicked until they remember that, hey, their powers work best together. So they put their hands on a wall and charge up their chi. An explosion later, and all of the ninjas are unconscious, and Billy and Jimmy have switched both places and hands.
Double Dragon, so awesome their high fives can kill you.
The boys find that Marion's almost buried alive when Jimmy frees her. Guys, missed one right there. Marion tells them to find her purse since it has the ledger inside. Seriously, guys, you don't see or hear that one guy coming up behind you? Marion finds that the ledger is gone and so is Nightfall. Okay, guys, seriously? I don't care if Marion's vajayjay is the holy bloody grail of women's pleasure palaces. There's a guy right behind you! Marion shoots the guy's sword while Jimmy knocks him out. It would not have been necessary if you had checked on the Shadow Warriors while I freed her.
You know, Jimmy, you could have spotted the guy and taken him out yourself. I mean, Billy's not the only one thinking with his yin-yang here.
Jimmy and Billy start to actually fight over Marion.
Are you guys nuts? I'm not some prize for you two to fight over.
Technically, you are, Marion. If two players actually manage to beat the final boss, those two players have to fight in order to win Marion's heart. Although, to be honest, in my opinion, it'd be kind of funny if they found out that Marion was a lesbian and the boys were just too clueless to piece it together.
Issue 1 ends with Sensei telling the boys that it was all a distraction in order for Nightfall's goons to come and steal the massive dragon statue, which they say is the source of their power, the Dragon Force. With the power of the dragon added to his own, Nightfall will be unstoppable.
How? So far, all it's done is give you the power to change your clothes, give you some special weaponry, and make explosions when you play patty cake. As far as superpowers go, not all that good.
And if he controls the Dragon Force, we are powerless to stop him.
Again, how? You're expert martial artists. That's the gist of your abilities. You're essentially Jackie Chan in Twin Dragons and Jean-Claude Van Damme in Double Impact.
Then he's finally won. Oligopolis belongs to Nightfall.
Oh no! He has a large dragon statue he might have got at the Antique Roadshow! Game over, man! Game over!
Issue 2 begins with a splash page of text featuring Sensei. Sensei had planned to spend the next several years instructing the brothers on the subtleties of the Dragon Force's use. Fate, however, has other plans.
As it turns out, Fate had Sensei scheduled for a yoga session and a seaweed wrap at 2:30 on Tuesday afternoon.
Taking place while the boys are out saving Marion in Issue 1, Sensei is meditating when he sees Billy entering the room. But as Sensei finds out, it isn't really Billy, but a mysterious invisible assailant. Well, it says invisible, but the attacker actually looks like a Jenga puzzle colored pink. The figure outright hands Sensei his ass, and then reveals itself to be Stealth, a woman dressed in gold and black sensor boxes over her goodies. He put up an awfully good fight, but... wait, what?
Lady, you beat him like he owed you money. I looked at those panels. He didn't even touch you. You flat out curb stomped this poor old guy, and you didn't even break a nail. This was so one-sided it barely even counted as a fight. I mean, what would you consider a bad fight? Beating up a corpse?
After Stealth makes off with the dragon statue, Jimmy and Billy make it home to find Sensei dying. Who did this to you? Not now, Billy. We must get him to a hospital. No, I would not survive being moved. So you probably shouldn't be cradling me, right? And now a piece of my rib just pierced my kidneys. Thank you very much, Trapper John. Sensei tells him that he wished he could have taught them more about the Dragon Force and asks Marion to be there for the brothers.
Yes, because if there's one thing two brothers whose power depends on togetherness needs, it's something they constantly fight over.
By the way, you're both my grandsons. Blah! Yep, Sensei reveals that Billy and Jimmy are his grandsons. Isn't it nice when family members pick their time of dying as a great way to give out that kind of secret information?
Son, before I die, I want you to know, I am not your father. I am your third cousin twice removed by marriage. Dad, how does that even work? Can't hear you, I'm dead. No more questions. Dad, I can still see you moving. No more questions, Dad, no! Look, you at least owe me an explanation on this. I'm dead, la 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 la, no more questions, la la la.
We then shift over to Nightfall's hideout, where Stealth has presented him with the dragon statue. He gives her money and then hires her to kill the Lee brothers. Nightfall, who looks like Father from Codename Kids Next Door strung out on meth, orders everyone to clear the room. It will require my complete concentration for several days if I am to fully absorb the dragon's power.
Now, let's get started with my diabolical evil ritual to rule the world. Patty cake, baker's man. Bake me a cake as fast as you can.
We then cut to Marion's precinct, where she is bringing in a felon 3 times her size. He snaps his cuffs and tries to attack her, only for her to kick him square in the nuts and break a chair over him. Huh, I guess she trained with Tommy Dreamer in ECW. Jimmy shows up and asks to speak to Marion outside. She tries to get him to open up about his feelings about Sensei's death. He responds by planting one on her, then decking her in the face. But we see it's Stealth, once again masquerading as Jimmy. Taking Marion's form, she then dumps Marion's body in the trunk of her own car.
I'll need to keep the genuine article out of sight for a while. The trunk of her car will do. No sense killing her for free.
Actually, there's every reason for you to kill her now. But in the next couple panels, we'll see that this scene is absolutely freaking pointless.
The Lee brothers pay their respects to Sensei at his grave when they are met by Stealth Marion, who basically acts completely out of character and taunts the boys, saying all of the criminals they put away know they are now powerless. They figure out it's Stealth, but before they can attack her, she sticks an entire army of CPU enemies on Billy and Jimmy, forcing them to fight. And we get 5 pages of a very well-drawn fight scene and showing the Double Dragon kicking serious ass. As the fight rages on, Nightfall continues trying to drain the dragon force from the statue until he notices that the energy is flowing back into the statue. The brothers then begin to possess the power of the glow and fight on. Stealth panics that Billy and Jimmy are actually winning.
One thing I cannot abide is a fair fight.
I'm so evil. I cheated Go Fish, Hopscotch, Rochambeau, and Solitaire.
She decides to use her powers of illusion to make all the henchmen look like Billy and Jimmy. After battling for 3 hours and knocking out 300 henchmen, powerless my ass, Jimmy and Billy are the only two who remain, only they think the other is an imposter. And the last page of the comic shows Billy and Jimmy still glowing from dragon energy, ready to face off.
This is actually a pretty decent start to the miniseries. Although, to be honest, I kind of feel like I jumped in the middle of the story instead of the beginning. The fight scenes are really well choreographed, but the plot holes, I think I'll take care of those when we reach the end. So tune in next time when we take a look at issues number 3 and number 4.
To be a dragon, you gotta be strong, humble, never bragging. Always fight for right, battling wrong with the power of the dragon. Live the cold stone of the dragon, fight for right, the might of the dragon. Live the mark of the dragon. Live the cold stone of the dragon.
Never intentionally harm another. Do not battle if you can avoid it. Jimmy and Billy Lee are Dragon Masters now.
Dragon Master was born with the mark of the Double Dragon. Fight for right, the might of the dragon.
And yes, I'll even throw out this tribute. I'm a man!